Hello and welcome. In terms of impact, Narendra Modi's speech at the United Nations General Assembly is perhaps going to have the most importance. In terms of profile, the meetings that he's going to have in Washington and the bilateral he's going to have with Mr. Obama will be most watched and followed. But in terms of sheer spectacular value, without a doubt, his huge gig at the Madison Square Gardens, where he's going to be talking to over 20,000 Indian Americans, is what people are going to follow and talk about for a long time from now. And as you're watching this coverage, this is all part of our run-up to our live coverage from Madison Square Gardens, where our whole crew will be there, bringing you that spectacular event, which might be transformative for the Indian community in a way in America. Talk about the Madison Square event, to talk about Mr. Modi and what his maiden visit has done for the Indian community in New York and in America. I have a fantastic panel of Indian Americans here and Indians with me here in the studios. To my right, and first of all, thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you.
And it's been fantastic so far. When I came to America a couple of days back, never imagined that Mr. Narendra Modi could be such a crowd puller and such a conversation point. It's been quite a discovery for me as well. I'd like to quickly welcome and introduce our eminent panel. And to my right is Vibhuti Jha. Vibhuti Jha is President of the Human Potential Project and Executive Director of Nalanda International. Vibhuti, thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Good to see you here today. Good to see you here today. To Vibhuti's right, we have Dr. Vishakha Desai. She's a Special Advisor for Global Affairs to the President of Columbia University. Thank you very much, Dr. Vishakha. And to Dr. Vishakha's right is Jagdish Sewani. He's the President of the America-India Public Affairs Committee. And Dr. Jagdish Desai, sorry, I added the epithet.
Thank you for calling me doctor.
He is one of the key organizers of the Madison Square Garden event. He can tell us about that and also how this whole event has come to be. Look forward to talking to you about that. Dr. Rajesh Shukla is a founding member of the BJP USA. He's part of the Overseas Friends of the BJP.
Yes.
And thank you very much, Dr. Shukla.
Thank you.
You can tell us more about the Overseas Friend of BJP involvement in Madison Square, perhaps. And finally, Sanjay Puri, of course, is Chairman of the US-India Political Action Committee and the Alliance for India, US-India Business. And Sanjay, I guess you're going to be looking at how this whole event has some kind of a positive impact on India-US business relations. A lot to talk about today. Fantastic. So let me start with you, Jagdish, and let's keep it free-flowing.
Absolutely.
This is not one of my political debates,
Yes.
so you can just go easy. Go easy on me and I'll go easy on you.
I will try. At least you go easy.
So Jagdish, tell me, what is this whole Madison Square event? I mean, the Madison Square Gardens is a place where Elvis Presley, or maybe, the big boxing gigs used to happen. Who thought about it?
I'll tell you how it happened, Anuji. When I was in India and I campaigned for about 4 months for the election for Narendra Bhai. And we discussed about this program after the results, and we said we should have a giant stadium, which can hold about 50,000 people. So when we came here and inquired, that was not available because there is a game on that tomorrow. So they cannot give it to us. We wanted 50,000 people, So the next
You think 50,000 would have come?
50,000 could have easily come. The way we are thinking, we have a wait list of 10,000 people already here.
Amazing.
So that this was the next best possible available.
But why do it? Tell me, Dr. Shukla, what is the idea behind it?
See, the Prime Minister are coming every year for UNGA. And every year there is a public reception. It is happening since so many years. When our government was in power, when Atal Bihari Vajpayee was Prime Minister, we used to do every year. So this happens every year. On this scale, this is the first time it is happening. The biggest program which we did for Mr. Vajpayee, it was in Staten Island, around 5,000 people were there. But this is the biggest...
He spoke? He was a key speaker at that event?
Yeah. He was Prime Minister at that time.
Yes.
So we used to do every year, even when he was coming. But his biggest program, I think we did in 2003 in Staten Island.
But is this about political mobilization, or is this about, because I spoke to a few people and I said, for you, what is this event all about? And they described it in many different ways.
I'll tell you, Arnavji, this is not about political. If you ask anybody here, about 4 million Indians are here. most of them are nationalists, and 90% plus they are pro-BJP. 90%, we have done the survey. And they care about the country, and they see Narendra Modi, they have only ray of hope they see is, oh, finally India has a person who really cares for Bharat, and he'll do something.
See, I don't know, there
That
is
is
no political mobilization, only because the community here, Indian community here, they want to listen to their Prime Minister, whosoever it may be. Yeah. Because Narendra Modi has created some sort of euphoria, because people think they were very pessimistic in last 10 years, so many scams, so many scandals. And as Jagdish has said, that we are all patriotic, nationalistic. We want some government should be there, that government should function, and they should deliver. Now they think that he is there, he is the person. They may not be typical BJP supporter as such, but they think in Narendra Modi as a leader who can deliver.
How much of this has got to do with giving a voice to the Indian community, Vibhuti? Because, you know, the Indian community is very wealthy compared to the median average income. I'm told that the average Indian in America has twice the average income of an average American. So it's a very influential and wealthy community.
Well,
it's not a small community anymore. I'm told there are about 3 million. 3.54 million Indians with a
1% of the population, sir.
It's 1% of the population, but the 1% would earn what 2% of the average Americans.
Maybe more, yes,
it is. So I got a sense when I was speaking to here. It's also it's about self-assertion also.
It is. I came to this country way back in 1991, and one of my jobs was to promote and market India in this part of the world to drive investments over there. So to India. So I have spoken to many corporates, and when I met with the Indian community here, what I realized, the first generation Indian community came here with $6 or $8 in their pocket, and they did well.
That's one of me. 1967.
And they did so well here. Now, here is the critical element. Every single Indian who has done whatever level of his achievement is without any grant from the government, very the largest from the government. People worked hard. They got an opportunity to work hard and be themselves. Now that, and the second part is that there is tremendous amount of respect for labor. The dignity of labor is very high in the US.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter what you do, so long as you are doing something towards the contribution to the society.
Yes.
And as a congressman told me once, that we love you Indians as an immigrant community. You have family values, you work hard, you are educated, you contribute to the society, and you ask for nothing.
Are Indians a voting bloc?
They are not a voting bloc on the national level, but Indians are a very prominent voting bloc in local elections. So in the county elections, there the votes matter.
That's an interesting perspective I always find. I mean, because you know, Dr. Vishakha, I was speaking to someone who said that this reception is also Narendra Modi's message to the United States that he cannot be taken lightly. You know, that given all his supporters, they say this, that given a choice, all his supporters here would rather vote for him than either Republican or Democrat. You know, and you know, there's been a bit of a frosty relationship with the US over the visa issue.
I think what's very important to recognize is that, first of all, and I've been here, first I came in 1967 as a high school student, and then I came back again in 1970, have been here ever since. And I've seen the changes in the relationship. So the reality is that the relationship between the United States and India is still a relatively young one. I mean, if you recognize, most of the time until 1991, in fact, our relationship was quite frosty because of the Cold War and where India was and where the US was. And I think that given that, actually things have happened very fast. But then, after the civil nuclear energy deal, you recognize that, in fact, in the last 5 years, it feels like things have kind of not moved as much as we would want.
How would it help you if it were to move? How would it help you, as in, how would it help the Indian community in America had the relationship moved differently?
Well, I think one of the things is that we should recognize, as a number of my colleagues have said, that Indian Americans in this country also remain very passionately committed to India. And therefore, most of us have been very frustrated when the relationships have kind of been not going anywhere. And so we put lots of energy into strengthening this relationship because we belong to both places. We're not just about America, and we're not just about India. So as a result, we want this relationship to grow. I mean, it's not just the old adage that, the oldest democracy and the biggest democracy. I mean, all of that is fine. But the reality is there is something about these two cultures. And in fact, Mr. Modi, when he was on another interview, as you know, has talked about the fact that these are two democracies that also have a culture of kind of diversity and acceptance of that, where anybody can go anywhere. In this country, much more so than there.
Yeah, just to add to that, is that the most of everybody here gets affected by everything that is happening in India, and vice versa. So families are there, issues are there, and we are the unofficial ambassador of the country.
So may I ask you, Sanjay, what has Modi done so far during his tenure that has caught the Indian American community's eye? And I'm not just talking about perception point of view. I'm talking more from the business point of view. He's made a strong pitch. He talks about FDI in his column at the Wall Street Journal. You may have seen that. What kind of an image is he sending out? And are people in America, the business community, buying into that reformist image?
I think, Arnav, you kind of have to step back a little bit as to why we are here. I mean, if you look back, past 3-4 years, people, when they look at me, they see an Indian. When they look at Vishakha, I'm sure they see an Indian. So generally we get asked what's happening with those rapes in India. Generally we get asked what's happening with the scams in India, because generally the bad news generally is the first thing that comes about. And then when you look at Capitol Hill, what has happened with Mr. Modi, there have been continuous resolutions that have been put out by people who are anti-Modi that we've been working hard to kind of beat off on. There have been resolutions that he should not be allowed, even right during the election time. There was a House vote that came in for Section 417. So I think it has made him also like the underdog. So there is that feeling that he's coming in, and then he also has great oratorial skills. It's the strong leadership. Now you look at Mr. Manmohan Singh, and then you look at, this is not about political, this is not Congress or BJP. It's people get drawn to strong leaders, whether it's a Ronald Reagan, it doesn't matter whether you're Democrat or Republican, whether it's a Bill Clinton.
But Sanjay, tell me one thing, this baggage of the visa issue, is it over? Let me just toss that to Jagdish. I'm going to come back, because I think you've touched on a very interesting point, because this whole talk, what had happened, the denial of a visa over the 2002 riots that did not go down well. And I'm told many members of the Indian American community also, it did not go down well. Do you believe now that, as you're looking to the Washington, do you think Modi and the Obama government will get over the baggage of that? And will this sort of Madison Square event, the UNGA speech, help towards it? Or do you think that some of that baggage will remain? Jagdish, what do you think?
I think that issue is already dead.
You think so?
Yes.
Why? Because the Americans are pragmatic people?
Absolutely. And what happened? See, after the election were over, the results came. The first thing Obama did is to congratulate him. And I'll go a little further before that even, when Modi was denied visa. I mean, I know Narendra Bhai for so many years. So we were talking about, he said, Jagdish Bhai, don't discuss about my visa with these people. They will give me visa on their own, and this is what, now they have a red carpet is waiting for him. And now he's the Prime Minister of India. And look what happened. The day he was elected, what he did, he invited SAARC leadership. So there's a message to the world that India has arrived on world arena. I will go a little further now. Now the United Nations, which was formed in 1945 by these 5 people who were the victors of the world, and they decided the agenda, they kept themselves as the permanent members and the veto power. It is about time, Arnav, that the reform should be there at the United Nations Security Council. And India should be member as a permanent member of the Security Council.
I think you make a very, very important point. I'm going to go into a break here. That's the point. What is India's stake in the world? But I think when I come back on the other side of the break, I think what I'd like to talk to you about and learn more from you about is what kind of political clout do you as a community have in the United States of America, and whether this Modi visit will play a role in that. How much political clout does a economically influential and from what I'm seeing, a fairly well-organized community like the Indian American community, how much clout does it carry? We'll talk about that when we come back. Just a very short break.